So something interesting is happening in the Senate. And over the past couple of days, we've had two Senate bills that passed the Senate where you had Republicans actually defect and vote alongside Democrats. And this was to end certain Trump tariffs that we're going to get into all that in a moment here. But this is a great sign, but it's nothing that I would get too hyped up about yet. There's only kind of one interesting figure in there, but the rest are kind of who you would expect to vote against the Republicans. So we're going to read the CNN article that's going to go over all of that. From CNN, 4 Senate Republicans vote with Democrats in effort to end Trump tariffs on Canada. So that's a big one. The one from the other day that I think this article will touch on was Brazil. So the Senate passed a resolution aimed at resolution. I don't know if I saw that or not. Jesus Christ, I'm like talking like Tom Holman here. Bear with me, I'm very tired. Anyways, aimed at ending President Donald Trump's tariffs on Canada, with 4 Republicans joining Democrats to rebuke the administration's trade policies a day after they voted to terminate tariffs on Brazil, as we just mentioned. So here are the Republican senators that went against the grain and voted with Democrats. We have Senators Ron Paul, Lisa Murkowski, Susan Collins, and former Republican leader Mitch McConnell. It's nice that when he's not busy falling down or falling downstairs or just falling down when a reporter asks him a question. I don't even remember what the question was. Anyways, not the point, that he can come out and make, at least one good vote every now and then. So Ron Paul, he's been kind of just on principle as a libertarian, kind of against tariffs. And Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins, both, they're kind of wishy-washy. They like to make a show out of things, and they're kind of like Josh Hawley in a sense, where they'll come out and act like they're almost like populist or like going against the grain when they're not. But unlike Josh Hawley, they'll actually vote against the grain and join Democrats every now and then. So those two aren't really surprising. Same with Ron Paul. Mitch McConnell is a little bit surprising. But he has come out and voted with Democrats a couple of times so far in the second term. But anyways, the resolution aims to end the tariffs by terminating an emergency declaration from the president. The move, however, amounts to a symbolic rebuke of the president's recent actions, as it isn't expected to be taken up by the House. So yes, this isn't a one and done vote. Of course, bills obviously have to pass both chambers of Congress. So it's expected not to be taken up in the House. Earlier this year, House Republicans moved to block members from being able to force a vote on the president's tariffs in the near future. See, I actually kind of don't think it's as cut and dry as that. I think this could have a definitely a non-zero chance of passing in the House. It's just important that Democrats continue to work with the more libertarian figures within the party. Off the top of my head, on the House side, I'm sure Thomas Massie would definitely vote to kill some of these tariffs. And I'm sure there's others out there as well. And the Republican majority in the House isn't big to begin with, and it is starting to slim. Granted, if Mike Johnson will swear in the most recent Democratic representative. I'm always blanking on their name. So anyways, you probably know who I'm talking about. So I wouldn't say it's dead on arrival. We'll see. Paul was a co-sponsor of the resolution, and McConnell pledged on Tuesday that he would vote for each of the resolutions taking aim at Trump's tariffs that Democrats plan to bring to the floor this week. There is one more vote expected on Thursday aimed at ending Trump's so-called Liberation Day tariffs. Now, if this goes through, that is huge. Like all of these tariffs, and it's crazy that we've waited this long to make a serious effort of ending them. Maybe just like the Murkowskis and the Collins weren't ready to move just yet, like many probably House Republicans were, that I suspect will be moved now. Because these are just illegal. They're illegal. Not only are they illegal, but they are devastating the country. they're not helping bring back manufacturing. They're hurting manufacturing anymore, or they are hurting manufacturing more just because of how just broad and vague these tariffs are. All right. Like raw materials to produce things that we can't, that we don't have here are tariffed. The materials to build factories are tariffed. Like it's not like the freaking early, it's not like the late 1800s anymore. We can't do this tariff nonsense. Anyways, I don't know where I was going. Oh yeah, they're illegal. Congress has the authority to do tariffs. All right. Presidents only have this authority in like actual emergencies. And I'm sorry, trade deficits are not emergencies. They are actually quite normal for a economy as big as ours and trading with other economies who can't hold a candle to our economy. And I'm sorry, but fentanyl is also not like in a national emergency. And I'm it's not in a national emergency. You're just using it so you can push this tariff agenda. Senator Tim Kaine of the Democratic co-sponsors of the Canada tariff resolution said Tuesday that the president's use of the International Emergency Economic Powers Act was not appropriate. The administration initially argued that fentanyl flowing from Canada into the U.S. was inciting emergency. No. This administration just calls things emergencies so they can use gross overreaches of power. For example, immigration. They declare that we are being invaded by like Tren de Aragua, and so we can invoke like the Alien Enemies Act and just do away with like due process and all that. Like they just call things emergencies so they can use questionable overreaches of power. And it's in the same vein as when they designate drug cartels as terror groups. It's so that they can use the broad power of like the war on terror and the very questionable and gross overreach to like bomb fishing boats off the coast of Venezuela and, militarily engage with the cartel. Anyways, the tariffs were increased last week after the Ontario premier ran an anti-tariff advertisement invoking quotes from former President Ronald Reagan. That was crazy because like use their idol against them. Like this is in no way of like a general defense of Ronald Reagan, but like there are some very, at least in today's age of politics, very base things he said, despite him being save this Trump term, the worst president in U.S. history. Anyways, it's funny. And then Trump and Republicans come out and they're like, that was AI. It's like, Jesus Christ. It is ridiculous to say that fentanyl is an emergency with respect to Canada, and its pretext that's just being used to pour more and more tariffs onto Canada, said Kaine. And why don't we pour gasoline on the fire? If they don't run an ad we don't like, we'll increase the tariffs by 10%. Kaine did acknowledge that this resolution likely won't advance beyond the Senate, but he insisted it can still send a message to Trump. I don't know if it's, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. I don't think it's necessarily dead on arrival in the House. I mean, granted that the House ever comes back in session and like the government ever reopens, but like that's a whole nother point. Whenever the government does reopen, I did learn in the first Trump term that the president is responsive to things like this. When he sees Republicans starting to vote against his policies, even in small numbers, that makes an impression on him and can often cause him to alter his behavior, Kaine told reporters. He's definitely right on that, but like there's a big difference between Trump 1 and Trump 2. Like Trump 1, that was such like I mean, there were crazy moments, but overall, it was a terrible presidency, but like it wasn't any worse than George Bush's junior's presidency, like not even close. But Trump 2, and that was because Trump was kind of like a standard Republican. He was kind of a woke Republican because he was actually like pro-trans. But anyways, and then, COVID happened and Trump is unrecognizable to his first term. Now, many may disagree with that and say like all these tendencies have been there. I would say I agree and disagree. You can't tell me that like there were definitely guide rails that Trump abided by in his first term. and they would try to get around them. But like this term, they're just straight up like kicking down the guide rails and just straight up ignoring them, like ignoring courts. Like it's not even close. So I don't know. Maybe this will send a message, but like I don't know. I'm just hoping that I'm correct and that it isn't as a lost cause in the House as they make it out to be, and they actually like pass it in the House, or you get like a bunch of Republicans to come over. That'd be awesome. But who knows? In this age of politics, predictions are pointless. So that's what I think, but I have no confidence behind that thought. Anyways, let me know what you think in the comment section down below, and I will see you in the next one. If you made it to this point in the video, I just want to give a special thank you. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button down below, and if you really enjoyed it, maybe consider hitting that subscribe button while you're down there. I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section. I will try to reply to any and all comments that I can. Until next time, watch that video on screen.